Hey there! Welcome to the Many Brains One Heart podcast. If you're looking for some feel-good stories from people who are changing the world, you've come to the right place. We've got a collection of interviews with some amazing individuals who aren't afraid to share their ups and downs on their journey towards making a difference. Sure, it takes a lot more than one brain to make things happen, but when you've got a group of passionate people working together, there's no limit to what can be accomplished. So grab a seat, sit back, and let's get to the heart of the matter. Okay, my guest today is Donna Kennedy. She has been the executive director for the Vernon Public Art Gallery for the last 14 years. Welcome. This is episode number 2, so I'm excited to have you here. How are you?
I am really excited to be here. I'm super excited that you're taking on this podcast world. And it's a great opportunity. I'm looking forward to chatting with you.
Excellent. Me too. So let's talk about your role and the gallery for starters. Let's talk about, you've been there for 14 years. So let's take us back and when you got started and tell us about the gallery a little bit.
It has been a journey for sure. Yeah, I started in 2008. November of 2008 is when I started at the gallery, and at that time the focus was on a new facility, and at that time it was a pursuit of a standalone art gallery. So that's what I kind of flew into, and learning about the history of it and what came before me and all of the effort that had been put into that pursuit. I knew it was going to be a lot of getting out into the community and talking to the community and really educating them on the need and why it's important for our community and stuff like that. So it's been a long journey since then, and I'm sure we'll talk more about it through there. But along the journey, I've had the pleasure of working with really creative people at the gallery who are artists in their own right and have a passion for what they do, and really spreading visual literacy throughout the community and throughout the region. I love what I get to do and the people that I work with. It's just such a creative and innovative environment to be working in every day that I feel super blessed to be able to work for the Vernon Public Art Gallery.
Yeah, and it's not like it's always been easy to try and educate the public on art, right? As you know, it's always been a bit of a challenge. But what's changed since you started? What have you seen has changed in your industry specifically, and the perception of the gallery to the community?
Yeah, I think I noticed early on that a lot of people were saying, well, there's just not the public will there and that type of thing. And so I sought out to find out if that was true and find out if the political will was there. And that really led me to get involved with the Chamber of Commerce. And so I wound up being on their board of directors for 7 years. My last year I was president. And, I really took that time to delve into the business community, educate them more on the benefits of having arts and culture in a community and how it benefits that innovation and everything that we're looking for in modern day business. And so I think we were really successful in connecting up with the business community, and I really feel that a lot of them do recognize the value that arts and culture does bring to a community on an economic basis, as well as just the really thinking outside the box, that people that are exposed to lots of arts and culture tend to think outside the box, and that's what our exhibitions and everything are about, is to challenge people to not just look at the surface, but to dig deeper in what was the artist trying to do with this piece of work, or what are they trying to challenge you with, especially in this day and age where so much media comes in front of us through social media, and you get those snippets, and they're definitely not deep dives, right? It's image, reel here, reel there, and it's not diving deep into anything. So I think that's where the arts really brings you back to that point where you take the time, you really embrace it, and you do the deeper dive. And I think that it's a good reminder for us with all of this noise that we have about us through social media and all of the other things, that it brings you back to that point where, okay, what is this in front of me, and what are they really trying to tell us? Because art is language. It's just a visual language, and it's just a different way of communicating messages. That's really what we try and do with the gallery is to provide that visual literacy out into the community and show that there's different ways of communicating messages and the importance of, digging below the surface to find out what's really there.
You're right, and the world is so noisy right now too.
Yeah.
Like you were touching on that. It's just we are just bombarded with everything from constant feeds off our screens, and I think it's important for people to look a little bit deeper, like you say, take the time and listen, or go and see what is happening. Particularly, like, is it unusual for a city of this size to have a public art gallery? Like, is that typical, or is that kind of a...
Yeah, I mean, I would say that there's different evolutionary periods of galleries. I think it's quite typical to have a gallery. I mean, there's some that are a lot smaller and are more about, sharing local art. And then when you get to the professional level that we are considered a museum because we have a collection, and the collection contains art that represents significant art practices that were happening at different points throughout our gallery's operation. So because we are considered a museum, we're kind of at that level where we have a lot of different professional practices that we have to follow. But, we weren't always that level, right? I mean, we started out, we are the oldest art gallery in the interior.
Oh, wow.
And that surprises a lot of people.
I don't think I knew that, actually.
Yeah, no,
wow.
it surprises a lot of people. But it started out as a traveling picture show. And, and then it gradually evolved, and now we are a recognized professional public art gallery. And we're doing good award-winning curatorial work, which we're very proud of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And that, I think it was smart of you to take that initiative and go into the business community wearing that hat at the chamber, but also wearing your hat as the executive director of the art gallery, because merging arts and culture with business and helping people to understand the economic benefits of an art gallery and having arts and culture in our city, as you know, because you've been working on a lot of different things over the years. But bringing that sort of awareness to the business community, I think that's how you manage to sort of fuse these really important business connections and sponsors and supporters from the business community of the art gallery, because that's how the art gallery generates revenue, is through fundraising too, right?
And I think a lot of people don't necessarily know what my background was before the gallery. They see me
Let's talk about that.
They see me as the gallery girl, right? And
right.
Before that time, I mean, the first half of my career, I would say I was involved with the social services, injury prevention industry. When I lived up north, was very involved with that before I went into business for myself, and I did a lot of work up there with the Chamber of Commerce. So I've done a lot of outreach, community outreach work, and so when I came into the gallery, I recognized that's really what we were needing as an organization. We were doing a lot of good work, but the community was so unaware of what was happening there and really what our purpose was. So I really, embraced the idea of doing community outreach, getting involved not only with the chamber, but a lot of different committees and stuff, the Tourism Commission and lots of different things, just to reach out and make sure that the gallery is relevant to our community. Mm-hmm. If we're not participating in the different activities that are going on, partnering up with different organizations, then it's going to be a very insular type organization. Mm-hmm. And I think we've been quite successful with that. We certainly, have more visibility out there. We have a lot more people that understand, are gaining an understanding of the role that we play. And there's different, we also have Gallery Vertigo, which serves a purpose, but a very different purpose from us. And, and then we have more commercial gallery like Headbones Gallery. And so there's different types of different types of organizations. And I'd say that we're an institution because we are there for the public. That is our mandate. We are there to provide a service to the public. Mm-hmm. There's different things. Obviously, commercial galleries are a for-profit business, and they're there to buy and sell art. That's the purpose. And people will sometimes come into the gallery and say, well, how much is that art? And we tell them, well, it's not for sale. the art is here, as an education tool, as, an inspiration tool, and as an opportunity for people to come in and explore. So that is a nonstop, ongoing piece of education that we are always doing, is, talking about what it is that public art galleries do and the important role that they play in the community.
Mm-hmm. I can see that being a misconception sometimes about, well, it's an art gallery and you're there, they're selling art, and but really you're, and maybe let's talk about how you do that. How do you bring these exhibits in? Like, how do you choose those, and which ones come through, and maybe a little bit of clarity around how that happens? Because, if you're an artist and you're selling your art, well, you would approach a gallery and they would represent you, and then they would hang your stuff, and then they would sell your stuff and get a commission, and then
and that would be a commercial gallery.
That's a commercial gallery,
and that's a for-profit business, and that's great.
Right.
They have a great role to play.
Absolutely, yeah.
The artists that exhibit at a public art gallery tend to be looking at art not for the commercial purpose, and the commercial purpose tends to be, I'll paint what I think the public is going to purchase, right?
Right.
And that's great.
Something viable, commercially
viable.
Right,
and that's great. That serves a purpose. And, coming at it from our perspective, so artists will put in a proposal to us about a body of work. So we're not just looking at an individual piece of art, we're looking at a body of work where they were trying to communicate something. So whether that was they were experimenting with different methods of working with a particular medium, or if they are taking on a political message that they think we should look at from a different perspective. So really the sky is the limit. So they really have to put together their thought process, that deeper dive I was talking about, because that body of work is trying to tell a story through the visual arts, through the visual lens. So that's how we approach that. So, if someone was to approach us with, a series of pretty pictures, well, what does this body of work, what is it trying to tell us? So it has to be beyond, that commercial intent, because we're not a commercial gallery. We're there for a different purpose. So there has to be a lot of thought as to what is going into those exhibitions, what is it that's trying to be portrayed. And then from that point, from the proposals, and sometimes from us being exposed to artists that are out there across Canada, we will seek out an artist to bring in their work because we feel it's important, and and it's an opportunity for members of our community who can't travel to see that artist. We bring that art here, so that people have the opportunity to witness what's being done in other parts of Canada as well.
Yeah, that's a good point too, because there would be things happening in other centers, other cities and other galleries where they've got, maybe we wouldn't have access to that if we didn't have a public art gallery, but because we have the Vernon Public Art Gallery, we can access those kinds of things that you wouldn't actually see unless you went to Calgary or Edmonton or Toronto.
Exactly. And the exciting thing with the new facility is that opens us up even more. Right. Right now we are quite limited. We can still bring in artists from across Canada, but we can't necessarily tap into some of those really special exhibitions that our national gallery and our provincial galleries have, because we just don't have the building, and we can't guarantee that we'll keep the art safe when we have stuff leaking from the parkade and when we have floods happening and things like that.
So infrastructure's just not there for that.
So I can say we're a little bit excited to get into that new facility.
Let's talk about that a little bit, because that's something you've been working on for a while. In fact, I did a stint on the board with the gallery early times when I first moved here, and there was talk about a new facility back then before the library.
Yes, it was 1986 actually.
Oh, that's when it first started?
I have the letter in my office where, and that's before my time, but
mine too.
But I have the history binder. And in 1986, the gallery received a grant from the province, part of the Expo Legacy Fund. That was the first, back in the day, it was, 1/3 provincial, 1/3 municipal, 1/3 federal to get capital projects going. And so, the gallery got $500,000 towards building a new gallery.
Wow.
But that was before the library, right? And so there was obviously communication that happened, and I'm just kind of summarizing because I wasn't there, but, and discussion around, well, the community feels that we maybe need a library first, so can we transfer this money to the library? And then that was what the letter was, and within 5 years, we will have you in a purpose-built gallery. Well, that was 1986.
Wow.
So
fast forward a couple more decades.
So it's been a long haul. Yeah, it's been, I have to say, it's been an interesting journey. I've worked on a couple of capital projects in other communities. Mm-hmm. So it's been an interesting journey. I think, again, it's that education piece. A lot of people assume that because the art gallery is in Vernon, it falls under the city. Well, we don't. We fall under Greater Vernon Services, which is a subcommittee of the regional district.
Right.
Which
is complicated,
so it adds to the layers of, and when I was first reaching out and working on the project, at that time, it wasn't really solidified who wanted to own culture, right? It was kind of at the regional district, but when we would go to the regional district and present it, they're like, oh, but you need to go and ask the city this. And so then we'd present to city council, and then we'd be bounced back there. And so it was a lot of bouncing around. We got approved for a referendum once. And then it got pulled back and said, no, we've changed our minds. We want to go this route. And so then...
Let's go back to the referendum for a minute, because that was presented to you, being the executive director at that time, to say, okay, let's do a yes campaign.
This was before that referendum.
Oh, this is before that?
That was before that referendum.
There was another one. Oh, okay.
Well, it didn't go forward. It didn't actually go forward. So no, this particular one, it was funny, because I think this was the time that I went to present to GVAC after having been called into the gallery early at 7 a.m. because we had been completely flooded. And at that time we had no furnace. So it was winter, it was December. We had no furnace. We were all working in there in gloves around space heaters. And then the whole place flooded because the water main went out front. And and so then I got to go and present to GVAC. Anyways, it was... Lots of entertaining things happen at the gallery. I always think that we should do a behind the scenes, a little.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
So anyways, so they approved us to go to referendum for a standalone gallery, and that was when the flower shop had been purchased for the idea of putting the art gallery there. So then that was approved. Okay, you guys can go. And then at the next meeting, it was reversed and decided, no, we're going to take a different direction. And then from there, we dove into the Arts and Culture Master Plan. And then that's where, from that, the politicians decided, no, we don't want to build any standalone. We want to only build multi-purpose. And so that is why we're now going forward as the cultural center that will house, different purposes.
That's great. And so that Yes campaign, I think that was the first thing I worked on with you on that through Sprung. But that was, what year was that again? That was,
was it 2018? Yeah, it was 2018.
Yeah. So that, that was, you're presented with that challenge to convince this community to say yes.
I didn't have a doubt that the community would say yes.
Right.
I knew we had done the work before that.
Right.
I knew that we had done the work. I knew we had done the outreach. We had been relentless at pushing this project, at really communicating with the public, finding out where their concerns were. I was confident going into that. We pulled in brilliant people like yourself. We pulled in the rock stars that made it happen. It is because of the community that happened. Did we surprise a few people? I think we did.
Yeah, you did. I was surprised. I mean, I didn't want to be a doubter, but at the same time, I was really hoping this community was going to, vote with their heart, and think about it a bit from a higher level. And wow, that was exciting that night at the gallery when the yes came through, and it was almost like that was the most important thing from that election. Was whether that was going to happen or not. So that was a big achievement. I mean, that was and that was based on the work you had been doing all along leading up to that point.
Exactly.
Working with the community, working with the business community,
and I think that was maybe not recognized by certain partners, the amount of work that the gallery had been doing on that deep level to really reach out to all of those different facets of the community. And I think the successful recognition was a recognition of that work that we did. So I'm very proud of everybody that put in the time and the effort. There's so many people that came before me that did a lot of the grassroots stuff as well. Like there's just so many people to thank for making it a successful referendum. I mean, years before me, I was
Right.
just the latest one that was
Right.
plowing it through, and I kind of have a motto that, I mean, it's never no. You find ways around it, and you find solutions, and you continue on.
And our city's evolving,
It is,
the
yeah.
community's evolving. It's, we've got a lot of new implants from other places who are expecting and would like more arts and culture here. And I think that has a lot to do with, I think there's a shift in who's here, what the voters want too,
Yeah,
right? So,
yeah. No,
so
for
it's
sure.
nice to see that too.
And the interesting thing, and this is what I love about the arts, and I say the deeper dive, because at different times it will bring out those conversations. Like quite often we'll have these community conversations in the gallery that, if there's a particular exhibition that brings up, a relevant topic to the community, like when cannabis was being legalized and stuff like that, we had an exhibition on cannabis, and we had a community conversation, and the community came out in force to come in and have that conversation, and I was like, oh, is there going to be a lot of pushback? Is there? Right. And you know what? It was so interesting and so surprising of the comments that came out. So we had a panel discussion with people from the university, and so we'll do that on different topics like food sovereignty, or we had the latest one was on hard of hearing. But it really brings out different segments and opinions of our community. And so this definitely brings up behind the mask.
Right.
Because did that bring out the conversation in our community?
Did it ever?
And did that, really, really highlighted for me, and I hope for a lot of other people, that yes, there are people on both sides of, do we want to progress? Do we want to, stay to our historical roots? Where do we want to be on that spectrum of things? And that particular project brought the voices out in force, although it was painful on my part.
I bet it was.
I am still, and I will continue to be so proud of that project.
Yeah.
And what it brought to light for our community, and the conversations that came out of that. It's and it hasn't stopped. The project is not done yet. We're still doing things behind the scenes to bring closure to that project.
Let's maybe explain what Behind the Mask is, because there might be people listening that don't really know what we're talking about. You and I know really well what we're talking about, but explain what Behind the Mask, go back to when you were bringing Behind the Mask here and what the goal was and what you saw. And then we'll maybe reveal what happened afterwards.
Yeah.
I mean, some people will already know, but...
So, I mean, we really noticed, from a gallery perspective, we were seeing more and more mental health being recognized, not only through the messages that were coming through different exhibitions that, we were receiving as, proposals, things like that. It seemed to be really heavily focused on mental health. We're seeing it in our streets, in our communities. We're seeing it around the world. And, and that's, again, I say, we take on, those social topics that are relevant to communities. And
even if they're uncomfortable.
Especially because we provide that neutral place for conversation. We're not trying to pick a side for anything. We're just trying to present the opportunity to have the discussion. And that's part of our job. That's part of our mandate, is to provide that platform for conversation. So from that, we were aware of an artist that had done kind of this community-based interaction in creating artwork. And so it was working with local members of the community, local artists, to create these masks. We so often present masks to the public that don't speak to who we are or what we're feeling behind the mask.
Right.
And it was such an interesting way to bring forward some of that conversation.
Yeah.
And so with that, we partnered up with Social Planning Council, who then put us in touch with Turning Points Collaborative. And then we brought in this artist, who is an expert in doing this type of work. And she brings in a mental health professional, to work through any feelings that come up related to it and stuff like that. And so we held these workshops with with some of the people, you know, with lived experience, whether in mental health, homelessness, different things like that. And we had some creative process in creating these characters who they wanted to portray themselves as to the public. It was a beautiful process to watch and see these artists come together and be vulnerable, but see their excitement in being able to do something for the community, you know, knowing that the work that they were producing, the story that they were creating, was something that they were doing and gifting to the community. The process was just, we were lucky enough to have you guys follow the journey and do a documentary of the project, which tells it so beautifully.
Yeah.
And I encourage everybody to go onto our YouTube channel and take a look at the documentary, because it really tells the story of this project. So from there, as you know, not everybody was comfortable either with the images, or some felt that they didn't want these stories representing who Vernon was. And that's how some people took it. So
Right.
So it brought up some controversy. It brought up the media took it and ran with it, and it really created a huge conversation, actually not only in Vernon, but across Canada.
Yeah, it was national. Like
It did.
It stirred up a big discussion. Yeah.
It really did, and it was so interesting to see the Canadian Museums Association over in Toronto listing our stories as part of their content they were putting out, and BC Museums Association and CBC debating it on, I mean, it was popping up everywhere.
Yeah.
And, so it was obviously an important conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But what was the conversation? It wound up not only being on mental health, but it wound up being, to me, I think that, the biggest thing for Vernon was the Vernon identity, is who is Vernon now, because there was so many that were wanting to embrace the progress that these murals represented. But there was the others that didn't want to. So I think this project meant different things to different people. And, in the end, we had different communities reaching out to us, wanting us to bring this to them. In the end, they saw it as Vernon rejecting this body of work, right? There's so many things that go into that, whether that's a proper interpretation or not. We were leading into an election. It wound up being an election issue. It was a perfect storm. It was a perfect storm. And, which, yeah, I mean.
And maybe, but you're right, though, maybe it wouldn't have gotten the press and the exposure, and the conversation may not have been as big, right, had it not been timed to come out at that time. I mean, the unfortunate side was that you didn't get to put up all those murals all over town, like as they did in Calgary, which Katie had done in a previous project. And I was excited to see those, and that was the unfortunate side. That was the loss, I thought. But at the other hand, the gain was that it got such a reach as far as the conversation.
It definitely did. I'm very proud. We're a small gallery in Vernon, and
to create that huge conversation
for it to be recognized. We received Canada Council funding for that, and so even to receive Canada Council funding, our application was recognized as quality work, quality exhibition that was worth investing in. I'm proud that Little Vernon Public Art Gallery was able to make a mark.
You should be. I'm proud of that too. Like, I was really grateful to have been part of that, and to have been, the storytellers behind it, in a way where we were brought in originally to just document this cool art project that was happening in Vernon, and then we were going to have these murals, and we had no anticipation of what was going to happen. Yeah. But even for me, I hadn't heard anything about that artist or anything, but being behind the camera and being in the rooms with the participants and seeing them go through the experience, like, it was emotional to watch for me as being behind the camera and seeing, because we got to interview all of the participants as well before and during the disruption in the process. But and listening to what they had to say was really, it was very emotional. It was how much they were enjoying the process of creating, and most of them talked about how in their youth they had been creative people. They had done art, they had done music, and it was really helping them reach back to that time in their life when they were creative and bringing it back to the now. And it was great. But it was also heartbreaking to interview them after everything hit the fan, and there was some pretty bad things said, and they were heartbroken about that.
Yeah.
That was hard to listen to,
and it was hard, for me from that perspective that I don't think anybody in our community should have to experience that no. type of pushback. So that was a hard thing for me to see. Mm-hmm. We need to do better, and hopefully hopefully opportunities like that are learning opportunities for us as a community. And it gets back to that deeper dive again, right? Mm-hmm. That spiraled again because of the social media and because of the thin, scary messaging going out there and the deep dive not happening. Mm-hmm. And so that's why the documentary is great, and the other, the website that was created from that. And that was always being presented as a portion of this project.
Right.
But it speaks to the importance of people not taking stuff on surface value, but do that deeper dive. Oh, well, what is this really about?
Yeah, and you gave the public that opportunity through that public consultation, which really required people to come to the gallery, see the display, because they were all on display in the gallery in a small version for everyone to look at, and to come and ask questions.
And that was what I told everybody. When people are saying, oh, you just want the supporters there. And it's like, no. This is your gallery. Mm-hmm. This is a public art gallery. This is your gallery too. And you have every right to come and say no. Mm-hmm. And we welcomed people however they saw the exhibition. I mean, it was certainly a challenging summer.
Yeah.
It
certainly didn't turn out the way we had originally had all envisioned it, but like you said, it did its original job, which was to bring up the conversation of mental health.
Exactly.
And how it affects everyone.
And how do we see it in our community? Mm-hmm. And from a Vernon point of view, how do we see approaching that and making it better? Do we want to hide it, or do we want to bring it front and center and move in a positive direction? So yeah, I think it certainly achieved having those conversations for sure.
Right, and people should go watch that documentary because
I would agree. It was well done.
It turned out really well. Well, it's exciting to hear what's moving forward with our community as far as arts and culture, though, goes. There seems to be a larger movement to that. Mm-hmm. We talked about earlier about some things about, and I think this came up during Behind the Mask, too, and it was about some stereotypes, because I think there were some comments made about, well, the gallery is not, does it get sort of classified, and maybe this comes back to its purpose as a public gallery as opposed to a commercial gallery, is that it's not approachable, or it's not a place where people feel comfortable about going. They think it's for the rich and famous, or for a different economic status, or does it kind of get wrapped up in that a little bit?
I do think there's misconceptions for sure. I mean, maybe people think of the big national galleries and stuff, and for people that haven't typically gone to galleries, I think there is a bit of an intimidation factor there. And that's just from not knowing what to expect, I think. And my background was not in the arts. It was, like I said, more in the social services, business, recreation. But that's kind of the lens that I brought in, was like, okay, I am one of those public members. So what do we need to do to make it a comfortable place for everybody? Because we are a public art gallery, which means we are for everybody.
Right.
It's by donation. We don't charge a fee. It's by donation when people come in. So we welcome everybody to come in, whether you can make a donation or not. And
that makes it accessible.
It is.
Right,
it's totally accessible, and we have programming for all ages. And we're always looking for feedback. Yes, we have memberships, reasonable memberships, all of the way up to our philanthropy circle members who want to be able to contribute a bit more. So our members get, a few other perks and stuff if they want that. But you certainly don't have to be a member to come, because it is for everybody. We change up our exhibitions. We have about 5 turnovers every year. where there'll be new exhibitions coming in the different spaces, and there's always a little something for everybody. And it's not always, paintings on a wall. Sometimes it'll be, installation works, video works.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's things that you actually have to interact with. We had this one kind of musical piece that came through, so you became a part of the artwork as you wound your way through. So there's lots of really interesting exhibitions that come in. So I do encourage people to come in, and if it's your first time, we have somebody at the front desk who's happy to show you around, happy to give you an idea about what the different things are about. I'm just always trying to encourage people to come in. With our busy, hectic life, it's such a peaceful place to come.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is.
And just look at the artwork and ponder, relax,
breathe.
I encourage people to come, and it's not a place to be intimidated of. It's not a place for any particular demographic. It is truly a public facility.
Thing that you're good at too is tying in with the schools and bringing kids and students into the gallery where they get to show art that they make.
Yeah.
And I think what's really cool about that is it not only brings the exposure to the gallery and the gallery experience to a younger generation, but their parents then also come to see it, and it may be groups of people that would never walk into the gallery or think about going to the gallery. I think that's a great way to tap into other areas of the community, because I know that's when our kids went to school here, and both our kids went and had their art hung on the gallery wall, and it's exciting for kids.
It is, and I think it's a really important step. That and that's maybe where the Vernon Public Art Gallery is a little bit different than some of the larger galleries in the larger areas. We do keep one of our gallery spaces as more community-based projects, which this would fit into. We think it's really important to be able to provide those young artists with the opportunity to see their work up in a professional art gallery. And so we have it for the elementary school. And that's in there right now, and then we're transitioning to the high school. And then following that is then the university graduates. And the nice thing with that is then they can see the evolution of, from here I go to here, and then from there, this is where I get to go, and this is what I get to do, right?
That's
it's,
really,
I think of Corey Dixon. When I think of a young one that started out, had his work in the elementary school shows, had his work in the high school shows, then he went on to university, and we hired him as a summer student. And he started right on the roof. And then he graduated, and he got to exhibit his work again as a graduate of UBCO. He is now in New York. Just had a huge exhibition in Los Angeles.
Wow.
It shows the evolution of a local boy that,
Yeah.
So it is important to have those moments in time that really inspire our young ones to keep that creative muscle going.
Yeah.
We all start out being creative, and we tend to lose it as we get older, and if we don't practice it, and that's why art galleries are super important. When we get focused with business, focused with the goals, focused with what we need to do, our brains kind of get stuck in those straight lines, and sometimes we need to come back to that gallery space to remind us to look beyond what we see.
Right.
And let's open up our minds again, and let's think outside the box and think in this other way. That's why art galleries are important. And some will continue in their creative pursuits, and some won't, but then come back and remember where your creative roots are and experience what we have to offer for you.
I mean, so many kids will remember that experience moving forward, even if they're not a Corey. But that's a great story.
Yeah,
I love that about him.
Yeah.
I didn't know that about him.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And you're also infusing other things like live music, because you guys do Art After Dark, right?
Yes.
Which brings another sort of experience in the art gallery to, I think you are attracting a youth audience, right? So
we're kind of looking at, it's very targeted to, high school, college, university age, although it winds up being an event for all ages.
For everyone,
but really it started out as a way for us to kind of build an audience with that population of the community, and we wanted to provide that platform for young emerging people who aren't going to get the opportunity, to do a live gig somewhere and to do, an exhibition yet, because they're not at that point. And some that were outside mainstream art and doing very alternative type things. And so we thought, let's take over the parkade. Let's provide this opportunity for young emerging artists to do their thing. The group that started out as Amnistad started out as one of the starting bands and left as a headliner, by the time they evolved out. And
who is now
Days Are May, right? So we really are excited about that event and providing that platform for them. We can't pay them a lot, but we want them to feel that bit of professional, so we'll pay them each an honorarium for being a part of creating that event for the community. Every year is a little bit different because it depends who the summer students are and what their background is. Like sometimes people are coming in with a background in creative writing and poetry and, so there'll be a bit of that vibe coming in.
Right.
Other ones have a background maybe in doing some video work and things like that. And we just try and bring in different vibes, let the young up-and-coming artists.
I love that.
Yeah, so
good.
It's a great event, for the end of summer. It's a great summer wrap-up event and just something that we can provide to that demographic that, they're saying there's not a lot for us around town, so it's a very affordable event for them to just come out and have a nice night. And yeah.
And it's on the roof of a parkade.
It's on the roof of the parkade, which is amazing. And
so
you guys
cool.
took some awesome drone footage last
year. Didn't those turn out?
And so we'll use that in the promotion this year because it really. But always having to reach out because it's funny. Again, the number of people that don't know about that event. We would assume that demographic would because it's been going for 14 years now. Right. But I talked to a girl the other day and no, she never heard of it. So there's always work to do to get the word out there and let people know what's happening. And we have it's called the Crit Club now that we're doing. And it's, again, for the Crit Club.
Oh, okay.
So kind of critique club or whatever.
Yeah.
It's for the high school age and it's once a month. Come out to the gallery, have pizza, bring your art, and it's an opportunity to share with other artistic people.
Oh, that's great.
And we have our education person there that works with them, and they talk about their art and make suggestions, look at our exhibitions and get ideas, and it's just kind of a nice social hangout for the kids. It's called the Crit Club, so I encourage high school kids to check it out, give us a call, find out when it is, and
really good. The gallery relies on fundraising.
Yes, we do.
COVID somewhat blew that up.
That was painful.
So, you pivoted, right? And you went online and went live, online with the art auction. So, Midsummer's Eve of the Arts, and it's coming back, or it's back?
Yes, it is back.
What's happening with that?
Midsummer's Eve, it is back, and it's back in its full glory. Finally.
Yeah.
We had to do a few different. Just because we do, we need to fundraise about $90,000 a year to keep all of our programming going, keep all of our staff going and stuff like that. So not a lot of people realize that we have to raise that much each year, but we do. So Midsummer's Eve is a very, very important event for the gallery. And we really appreciate the support that we got through COVID. We recognize that we had to bounce around with our event a bit, but this year it is back. It is strong, and it's at Mackey Lake House. So,
yay!
People,
that'll be great.
Yes. So it's always for 35 years plus. It has always been the third Wednesday in July. So mark that on your calendars, and we're really, really looking forward to our great garden party. Live art auction.
It's a fun event.
Great event.
Very fun event.
Yeah.
There's music. There's dancing.
And it's just a wonderful Vernon signature event. What could be more Vernon than being in the beautiful gardens, overlooking the lake, enjoying art and having fun.
And that's a lot of art comes through there that's auctioned off. How many pieces do you actually end up auctioning?
It's a combination of artwork and packages that we get from different businesses and stuff, but usually we have about 100 lot items that go through the two different auctions there. Amazing. So it is so much fun. And it is, we get so many great people that support it year after year. So I just encourage everybody to come out and have fun with us and celebrate art.
But good for you for taking on the live version of that during COVID. I mean, it was fun too, and I mean, it still was.
It was a learning curve.
Like telling me, wow.
I'm glad we prepped you to go on for the chamber one after that. But but that's what we do. That's what we do. We're all about experimenting. Takes me back to the big steel box pop-up gallery we did.
Right. Oh yeah, that's right. That happened because that's where the flower shop was.
That was where the standalone gallery was supposed to be, and we brought the Okanagan Print Triennial come. It was the first time it was an international competition, and it was a big deal, and it was coming to Vernon, and it was supposed to be in the new facility. And that wasn't happening. And so 6 weeks before that exhibition was opening, somebody had the bright idea of, let's do a pop-up gallery on the site of where the gallery is supposed to be. And nobody thought it would be done. Nobody thought it could be done.
Right.
And in 6 weeks, we got it done. I got a hold of Big Steel Box and said, will you give us 6 boxes that we can put on this lot? And at the opening reception, he said, I only said yes to her because I didn't think she'd be able to make it happen. And
seriously, that's great.
And we did. Everybody I asked just jumped on board. The city said, you need a surveyor, and then you need an engineer, and then and everybody just kept saying yes. Armstrong Crane came on board and craned them all into place, and then an outfit out of Calgary came and created these slide-in walls to hang the art on. It was an amazing, crammed process of seeing what can happen when people work together for a common end result. It was amazing. Yeah. Working with Cleo Corbett at the time with the city, we actually wound up going to Creative City Summit, I think it is. That's where the municipal employees go to, and we actually did a presentation on that project because of the short timeline and what we were able to accomplish, with zero budget.
Right. Well, and what's great is you brought it to the community. You brought art out. Is that something you could do more of, like those kind of pop-up things, and maybe not to that scale, but maybe is it something that you could do as a gallery? Is do pop-up things like that? There's always opportunities to try different things. I mean, it comes down to capacity and budget for sure. I think once we're settled in the new facility, and we get operations solidified there and everything like that, then that will open the doors to some creativity like that. We'll have the advantage of having some outdoor space that we'll be able to use as well. And so I see all sorts of exciting, cool things coming.
Different
It'll be a bit
cool
of a
things
hub
coming.
Too, right?
It really will. It really will.
Central. It's going to be right downtown.
Right on the rail trail that's passing through there, that greenway that's connecting up to the rail trail. Yeah. So I mean, it's just going to be an amazing hub. For everybody in the community. Like I said, the cyclists, the people out walking, and the community as a whole. So it's an amazing time to be a part of the gallery.
What stage is it at the moment, actually?
So we have architects hired, and super excited. If you haven't checked out their website, it's Reverie Architects. They have done iconic cultural buildings all over the world. Wow. Just amazing. So it's really exciting to see that caliber of architect coming to Vernon. Yeah, I mean, I guess we're just lucky because of COVID in that, because they were looking for projects closer to home. So, that was a gain that we had. So
there's a few silver linings coming out of COVID.
For sure. And so they've been working hard, and they're working on some massing documents and stuff for us right now. So we should be getting that any day, so I'm really excited to see the first real output from them. And
because you've had some sort of renderings and some concepts,
yes,
but really nothing solid, nothing sort of concrete. Mapped out.
So we are. So this will be the first ones from these guys, and then from there we'll be doing the deeper dive into the detailed design and really digging in. And so that's things exciting. From here only are going to gain speed as we go. So
wow. That's exciting.
Yeah.
It's exciting for all of us. We talked a little bit about your past, but how did you end up in Vernon anyways?
How did I end up in Vernon?
Yeah, and where did you come from?
I actually graduated from Salmon Arm. I'm a lover of the lakes, but I lived most of my adult life before coming here up in Fort St. John and Grand Prairie. Yeah, it was an opportunity. My husband went to work overseas. It was an opportunity to get back here. I always knew that I needed to get back to the lakes, needed to get back to the mountains and stuff like that.
Right.
I kind of did some research. We looked at Kamloops, Kelowna, here, Salmon Arm. And, my boys were involved with competitive sports, competitive swimming up north. We're also in French immersion. So those were the two big things I was looking for.
Right.
And Vernon had the best mix. So we settled here in Vernon and absolutely love it. It is our home. It feels like we were coming back home, coming here. I mean, I remember playing basketball and volleyball in Seton Gym when I was part of the, the Salmon Arm team, the Salmon Arm Jewels.
Yeah, and that's the French immersion school. So
yeah. So it was really interesting, resettling in this area. Yeah, it's been really good. That's a bit of my past. I mean, I grew up in a dairy farm in Salmon Arm, so people probably don't know I was a dairy farmer.
Wow. Your way around a cow.
I know my way around a cow. Yeah, there you go.
Now you've been here, so share with us some of your favorite things, favorite places or activities that you like to do around here.
Yeah. There's so many, hey?
Yeah, I know.
I just, we are so lucky, no matter where we turn.
Yeah.
I mean, we're so blessed to be where we are, but summertime Cal Lake, anywhere on or around Cal Lake it's my happy place. In the wintertime, the tranquility of going up to Sovereign Lake, whether you're snowshoeing or whether you're, taking the ski trails.
Yeah.
My girlfriend and I love to go nighttime snowshoeing.
Oh, that's
It's
fun.
just so peaceful. In terms of outdoor pursuits, it's never ending.
Yeah.
We're just so lucky to have so many opportunities that way. And then in terms of arts and culture and stuff like that, I mean, we're getting somewhere. We're getting some investment. We're getting some traction.
Mm-hmm.
But in spite of that, we have always had such a strong grassroots artistic community that we live in. I mean, there's just so many interesting opportunities to try different things, from Lorna's dance lessons on her deck through COVID or the jazz club or the different, there's just so many fun little opportunities to engage with Vernon's unique community.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's great. Well, thanks for sharing that. I think we covered pretty much everything. I guess maybe if we go back to a little bit around, the gallery is a public gallery, but it is also, and that means it's not for profit.
Yes, we're a registered charity.
Yeah. So, all nonprofits have their challenges. What are some of the challenges you are experiencing from all of your 14 years of being there?
I mean, I think the big challenge is, and I've had this debate with different politicians that come to town and stuff like that. I always seem to get pushed into the political side of things because, I just think it's so important to advocate for different things to make our community better, right? I always feel a healthy community is a well-balanced, well-rounded community. And that means that there's investment in all areas of that community.
Yeah.
You don't sacrifice one area for another area. And when I was challenged by one of the provincial finance ministers once, when he was here talking about their pillars of investment, and I said, okay, now I need to hear about arts and culture. And he's like, well, where do you want me to get that money from? He says, do you want me to take it from the hospitals? Do you want me to take it from here? Do you want me to take it from there? And I said, as a matter of fact, yes, I do. I said, I want
a little bit from everybody.
That's exactly what I said. I want you to take a little sliver from all of these in recognition that arts and culture helps with crime prevention. It helps with mental health. It helps with physical health. It helps with all of those things. So by investing in arts and culture, you are saving money in those areas. And we need to recognize that that's what creating a healthy economy and a healthy community is about.
Absolutely.
I tend to get I go after those things and really, it's not about sacrificing. Everybody's always trying to play the arts against the sports. It's not either or. We need both. So I will advocate for the pool as much as I will advocate for the cultural center. My boys were swimmers.
Right.
I recognize that pool does not work for doing swim meets, and that's only one user group for in there. There's so many more, right? There's always a bigger story to every facility and what it provides to the community.
Well, I'm glad you said that about arts and culture, because it does tend to be sort of a side column or a line item, but really it isn't. It's an economic driver on its own.
Yeah.
And like you said, it provides something for everyone at some level, at some point in their life. It has done something positive for everybody.
Yeah. And I think people forget what is arts and culture.
Mm-hmm.
They immediately think, a gallery and things like that. But if you think of the arts, what is your business?
Mm-hmm.
If somebody has a logo, where does that come from?
Yeah.
That's artistic. That comes from arts. Any signs that are out there, any video, any TV shows, any of that stuff.
Every screen we're watching.
That is the arts.
Yeah.
That is what the art gallery is about, is making sure that those artistic people that are out working in the business world and out doing that have that connection place to come back to and reconnect with that creativity to then go out there and innovate in their roles within the community. It's an important institution. It is a needed institution. It is the heart of the community.
Yeah, absolutely.
And anyways, that's my passionate soapbox I'm getting on.
No,
but there you go.
I love it. It's really good. And thank you for being that advocate for our community in that arena, because we need people to be speaking out and reminding, like you say, you're just reminding them, well, haven't you experienced arts and culture and enjoyed it and felt something from it? And we do need it, and we need that investment.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. No, it just has to be a standard part of what we invest in to make our community the best it can be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, this has been awesome.
I have so enjoyed it.
Thank you. Me too. And I hope we've covered a lot of things and maybe sort of revealed some unknowns for people, and maybe they get to know the gallery and you a little bit more. And
I always encourage people to come in and talk to me. I'm always around. Come in, chat with me. I'm always up for a debate or up for clarification if people have questions. So,
excellent. Well, we'll make sure they have the website so they can go check it out and get in contact with the gallery. And thanks, Donna.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Heath.
All right. That's it for the show. Thanks for listening. We'll talk again.